Great. Thank you, Stuart. Next up, we have John Bailey from Galliford Try. John, over to you.
Thanks, Tom. Hi, everybody. I'm going to talk about 6 things today, give a quick introduction to Galliford Try, who we are, tell you a bit about where we are in terms of corporate responsibility and sustainability, give you a bit of a history of our reporting, share with you what we've learnt, give you some of my preferences on CR reporting, and then try and come up with 3 key points, or my 3 key points for a successful report. So, Galliford Try, we're a top 10 UK national contractor and a top 10 house builder. We work across the spectrum of the built environment, from housing, both private and affordable, building, infrastructure, facilities management, and public-private partnerships and PFI. We have a group Galliford Try brand, which covers homes and construction, but we also have a number of regional brands, including Morrison Construction and Linden Homes. We've got 25 businesses, 3,500 employees, and in 2009 we had a turnover of £1.5 billion. Projects you may have heard of include the Olympic Park remediation works. We're a long-term partner with Wimbledon. We did the Centre Court roof last year. We're refurbing St Pancras Chambers at the moment. And we've just started the Grayling Well, one of the Homes and Community Agency's first zero carbon or net zero carbon developments. We've also got a large public sector order book, and I think this is a really important point, that these key clients like Department for Transport, water companies, ODA, HCA, they're now looking to us for low carbon innovation and a lead on sustainability, and that is really driving us now to improve. The recession's had a huge impact on our business. The house building business has been reduced by 1/3, but CR has actually increased in profile and importance over the last 18 months. So in terms of where we are at the moment, I think the view pre-recession in some quarters was that you could buy sustainability. It definitely does now has to have a business case. I think that's sometimes an overused word, but it definitely does have a business case. I've been in the group for about 5 years, working in the operational businesses, and I took up the CR manager position in September 2008, really as a response to a perception at the exec board level that it had to coordinate CR in a much more focused way. We trebled in size in 3 years, and we're now sort of through acquisition and being asked many questions on CR that we'd never had to deal with publicly before. And they came from institutional investors, analysts, big clients, that kind of thing. We had no definitional strategy, and it meant different things to different people. So we set about working out what was important to us and what the opportunities and risks were. The regional businesses took great pride in what they did, and also great effort in how they were perceived amongst the communities in which they worked. However, like I said, there was no coordination of effort, and we didn't make the most of our unique selling point as a group, which was our diversity, experience and coverage of operations. We identified a number of opportunities and challenges and used that to inform a group policy and framework that would engage the regional businesses and also help us partake in group initiatives like the Carbon Disclosure Project and a next generation sustainability benchmark for housing. Currently, the 3 divisions are developing a roadmap which is specific for them to address priorities that they've identified, which are particular to their sectors and regions. So, having sort of established where we are, I wanted to give you a history of our reporting. We have also done 2 reports, 2008 and 2009. 2008 was our first report, and why did we do it? Well, apart from this disclosure within the Companies Act that people had to report their non-financial performance, I think everybody else was doing it, and we would look pretty poor if we didn't. And it was a good marketing activity, I think, as well. We used an external agency, and they conducted a number of interviews across the group. It was pretty last minute, structured around 4 key themes, and this brought out that CR was sort of how we did business anyway. I think that was true, by the way, but I'm not sure we realised the significance of it at the time, or actually what it could do for us in the future. And how was it different from before? Well, non-financial issues were now recognised as needing their own stage outside of what was normally in the annual reports. So in 2009 was the first report that I became involved with in my job. Why did we do it? Well, we wanted to show we were serious about CR despite the recession, and it also reflected the fact that we now had a strategy and a plan for dealing with it. I wrote most of it. We didn't have the luxury of an external agency in 2009, and used my contacts throughout the business as well as much better use of the internal communications team. We got feedback from the business on the previous year's report, not huge amounts, being honest, but it still definitely informed our approach as to, you know, what we were trying to make it look like. We'd now defined CR as a company, so the report fitted around our 7 areas of responsibility and reflected not only how we were managing it now, but also I think the evolution of the group as a whole. What was different from the previous year? We sounded people out and sent out information requests a lot earlier. We were much more focused on who was the end reader, though I'm not quite sure that we still knew who it was at that point. CR had a much higher profile anyway across the business, and that made it a lot easier to get information. The case studies, I think, were more relevant because our communication was better and more focused. And I think above all, it was a bit more honest than 2008 when everything was amazing. So this year, obviously planning the report at the moment, why are we doing it? We want to try and give those audiences that we've identified what they want. And we also want it to be, I think, more slick. The process is pretty similar to last year in terms of information collection, but it actually started before the last report was produced. So it's now really an ongoing process. We're looking to split up some of the data and the stories between the website and a glossy report, and really try and get the most value to each of the people that we think read it. Our investors, analysts and younger generations, they tell me they go straight to the website anyway, so there's no need for a sort of a hard copy report. And how is it different from last year? Well, I think it will be more case study focused, and it will start to discuss in context some of the key government initiatives which are starting to have significant implications for our sector, for the construction sector. So that's a sort of brief history, and what have we learnt? You know, what has been successful? I probably would caveat this by saying, you know, I don't think ours is the best report ever, and I'm sure that there's other people out there who've got better reports. But I think we've certainly learnt a lot from it, and that a group CR report has actually driven improvement in how we describe CR and sustainability across the business. It's identified gaps and encouraged the businesses to understand and actually deliver that improvement themselves. It will help to get targets in place because readers now expect it. I was talking to the head of SRI at one of our investors, and she told me she was eagerly awaiting the 2010 report because we'd put in the 2009 one that we were putting processing in place to better collect data and set quantitative targets. So it would be pretty embarrassing if next year we turn around to her and say, well, you know, we're still putting those processes in place. And I think in terms of lessons, I think my lessons would be start preparing the structure and stories throughout the year and get the contributors to think pretty early about what they want to say. Speak to your analysts, shareholders, clients, competitors to understand who wants what and what works about your previous reports and what doesn't. Our CR report, I think, will be most successful if it reflects our journey, I think both the ups and the downs. And then in terms of my preferences and interests, I think everybody looks at CR reports for different reasons. And whether you get out of that what you want depends on how you rate them. I particularly like concise reports that tell a story and build a brand image, rather than being fixed around any particular guidelines or bombarding me with data that I won't really understand. I think the key is context and signposting to more detailed information. I also want a feeling that all levels of the organisation feel what CR is and see evidence that they're actually contributing to it through their decision-making process. I'm often asked whether anyone reads CR reports. I'm not sure that's really the point. I think it's up to us as authors to decide who we want to read it and then tailor it accordingly. So just to finish, I'll leave you with my 3 key points for a successful report, and I hopefully haven't repeated Stuart too much in this one, but I think the first one is know your audience, and if you're not sure, spend some time researching it. It will be well worth it. The second is to be credible, and people won't believe that you're amazing all the time. They want to know how you've addressed things that haven't gone well and what the key challenges for your sector are. And then thirdly, I think use language your industry and your employees can relate to, and that will make it relevant and thereby increase their interest and also their participation. Thanks very much.